Speak much? We did 5 meetings already. Hey, how are you? No, it's helping out. I saw it. Yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get right to it.
Good afternoon, and welcome to a special meeting of the council of the city of Long Beach on Friday, May 31st, 2019, at 7 p.m. Well, 4 p.m., sorry. Member Roll, Councilmember Bendo.
Present.
Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Councilmember Moore.
Present.
Vice President Diamond. President Romano.
Here.
The record indicate the presence of acting city manager Robert Stacy and Assistant Corporation Counsel Richard Barros. Can I have a solicitor for it?
Mr. Flowers, would you repeat?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item and only item is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the budget of the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30, 2020, appropriating some set forth therein and determining and fixing the real estate tax levy.
Okay, we did have 2 budget hearings, and the hearing was closed at the last meeting. So we're going to leave our comments both from the council and the public to the Arashi. And we will let everyone have their 3 minutes to speak on the Arashi, should they care to. But I'll start with the council. Does anyone on the council care to wish to speak about anything on the Arashi? Any questions or for both the tax assessor or acting city manager of DC?
Just one question. If asked.
Mike.
How about now? There you go. If asked, what's the impact on the tax?
The average homeowner that's had about $610,000 would see a $274 tax increase.
No, percentage. percentage wise.
I'm sorry, if I could just clarify, are you asking with the errata sheet deduction?
Yes.
So with the current $336,000 reduction,
The increase would be 7.09%.
Was that 7.09?
Yes.
Okay, so about a 7.5, I'm sorry, about a 0.8% increase. Going from 7.9 to 7.1 roughly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions about the errata sheet? Anyone care to add anything to the errata sheet? Okay, seeing no comments from the council, I'll go to the public, and please keep your comments to the errata sheet. Anyone care to wish? Commissioner comments?
Good afternoon, Scott Cummings, Fire Commissioner, for the City of Long Beach. I understand the need to try to keep the tax burden as low as possible. I, as well as the taxpayer in the City of Long Beach, pay a lot of taxes. But I saw that 10% was cut out of the fire department's contracted services line. That is our contracted services line. That pays the commission on our ambulance billing. The more money this company makes for the City of Long Beach, the more we have to pay them for commissions, it's a percentage. It also pays for the OSHA required medicals that we give every career and volunteer firefighter yearly. And to cut 10% from that line, do I tell the billing company not to bill as much so we don't have to pay them a higher commission? Or do I decide which few firefighters are not going to be able to do the medicals? This is not enough money in the line. I would ask that if possible, that $10,000 that was cut from the line be returned. It is a contracted services line. We are obligated to pay the commissions on our ambulance billing, and we are obligated to give medicals to all our firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else care to speak on the errata sheet? Yes, gentleman right here. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Jackson, 615A Oceanfront. From the look of this, it's really not going to make much of a difference on taxes. I think the percentage you told me the difference was very small. And so the first thing I just look here is, why not put back? Could you just explain the errata under shade trees? There's 2 trees, does that mean we're not going to be planting more, or is it just the maintenance of them? It seems to me that with everything that's going on here, the $45,000, I believe, under the shade trees, should probably be put back in, if it's going to affect the environment. And could you explain just what the shade trees mean? Is it planting, or is it maintenance, or what?
It's 2 part-time workers, and they maintain installment trees, is that correct?
And replace
So, that's
dead or decayed trees. Since these are the only 2 things that have been eliminated, it seems ridiculous not to include them. It's such a minor thing compared to our budget. Obviously, the tax rate's not going to change significantly at all. So we'll put these 2 back in, that's just my opinion. Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you. Anybody else care to speak? Mr. Verona?
Hey, Verona. I think that this errata sheet, just by looking at it, is truly a drop in the bucket for our terrible financial problems, our horrendous financial state. There is no reductions in borrowing. There is a minimal reduction to the tax levy, and no reductions to the built-in $668,000 deficit that I calculated. I think we have a problem, and the solution to that problem is spending less money. I know that may not be popular. I think it is popular, but it may not be popular in the short term. It may hurt chances of re-election, but we have to put the city first. We have to say, what are we here for? And you are here for to serve the city, to fix the problems that is why the residents elected you. And this budget does not accomplish that. This budget nowhere near accomplishes the terrible, horrendous financial problems that we have. And I think that waiting is not a solution. Hoping it goes away is not a solution. And I presented to you the other meeting 31 budget changes. I think we should try to incorporate more budget changes. We need to eliminate the patronage. We need to cut down on the waste. We need to cut down on contingency. We need to, I laid out many, many budget solutions. And to see that we only had a 0.8% reduction in the tax levy, it just seems very sad to me. And it seems very sad that this council has neglected its responsibility to ensure it's handling the residents' tax dollars properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Tina Fiore, Long Beach. I won't say much, and he does such a good job. The only thing I would say is I understand this budget has till 11:59 p.m. tonight. It appears that this is the first time this city council, along with corporation council and our acting city manager, are all together in one place. So I would highly suggest or recommend that if we have to stay here till 11:59 tonight to adjust this budget, you should be more prudent about doing that. And it's your fiscal responsibility to the residents of the city.
Anybody else care to speak about the errata sheet, Mr. Lester?
Roy Lester, Long Beach. First of all, I think it's the height of rudeness that you're having a meeting when everybody's at work. People work at least till 5 o'clock and then they have to get back. And yet you call meeting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know if you remember about 3 years ago, right around this time, the school board did the same thing. They called a meeting, a hastily called meeting for 5 o'clock. And a lot of people managed to come. They managed to come, and a lot of people criticized. And Ms. Moore, you were there, and Mr. Bender, you were there. And you want to know something? Not one of the 3 members that called it are still on the school board. Just saying. Now I'm looking at this, and one of the things I've noticed is, yes, you did decrease things, but you also increased the search. The amount for a search fund for the city manager, is that correct? What do you mean, Rob? You didn't even look at it?
Oh, I read it. It's not my errata sheet, Mr. Lester. This is the council's proposed errata sheet.
And you don't know about it?
Oh, I saw that now, actually, sure.
Now?
It's not what this is.
No, I mean, you look at it like, well,
No, Mr.
really?
No, Mr. Lester, I saw it 3 days ago.
Okay.
And
Now, why are we doing that?
If I can just answer the question, Mr. Lester. this is-
No, 1 second.
No,
Mr. President, my time is short, okay?
Okay.
Anthony's gonna cut me off.
This is not my proposed errata sheet, thank you, Mr. Lester.
Okay. Anthony, I understood we didn't have a search firm going on for the city, permanent city manager. Now I see an extra $25,000 added onto it. Why is that? 1 sentence, please.
A council member proposed putting it on the errata sheet.
What council member?
I'll let them speak for themselves.
What council member?
Councilman Mandel and I did an errata sheet, we proposed putting that money in.
So we might be looking for a permanent city manager?
It gives us the option to.
Well spent. Okay, and I noticed the shade trees removed. I can't understand that. I can't understand how these things were taken out now and they weren't noticed before when you had a budget. And I guess what really bothers me is we've gone down, we've cut out $335,000 worth of, I guess what you call that, and we're still borrowing. We're not borrowing less, we're still borrowing almost $2 million and we cut out money. Now, one thing that I did notice though, if you take last year's tax levy, it was $30,630,000, and this year's is $33,214,000. That's an 8.4% increase. Now, I'm sure there's some reason for it, but 8.4 is not 7.09. Now, if you look at commercial side, that's a 19.3% increase. I don't know if the commercial people or the non-residential know that they're talking about an almost a 20% increase, but those are what the numbers show. How come?
Thank you, Mr. Lester. I'll let the tax assessor, answer.
I don't have last year's numbers.
But the commercial went up because of the,
The commercial is more than the residential tax rate this year, because the base portion shifted towards the commercial. And plus, the base portion shifted towards the residential.
Right in
turn
terms
to
of,
the 20th, the return date.
The basic portion shifted the tax rate, tax levy towards the non-homestead this year. And this is the first year that LIPA is coming off the tax rolls and becoming exempt and taking their special assessment, which is separate. The LIPA property is included in the calculation of the basic portions. So it's a 1-year shift towards the non-homestead.
we're getting 269,000 for
And
that.
that's all because of the state law, right?
That's the state law, the LIPA reform act.
But we have a special assessment of 269,000 coming into us for that LIPA. So it's really no effect.
They should be paying more if they're fully valued paying based on tax rates.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Anyone else care to speak on the errata sheet? Sure.
Michelle Knox, Long Beach. I'm just curious on all these reductions of repairs, vehicle repairs. Are we gonna not ever fix a truck or a car? Just gonna leave it? I mean, $57,000 for the central garage, that's kind of like scary. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, thank you.
President Aramo, I think, just going back based on conversations, go back to Michelle's question, this was really in response to the anticipated ability for the city to move forward with the new sanitation truck.
That was the thinking, correct? I think we're looking at 7 new sanitation
Correct.
vehicles, 5 new trucks over 7 years. Financed over 7 years, right? Yes. State your name and address for me.
No, we moved it.
Just a quick, Elizabeth Preston, Long Beach. Just a quick question. Mr. Agnestis, you said you received the errata sheet 2 days ago? Is that what you said? So then why did the public only receive it probably about 3 hours ago? Is
It was
that-
draft. What we received was draft. It wasn't finalized until today.
So it was at 3 hours ago?
As soon as it was finalized, it was posted.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak on the errata sheet? Okay, yes, in the back. Name and address for the record.
Evening, Sam Nichol, Long Beach. A few questions on the actual errata sheet. If the errata sheet goes, the process actually, the errata sheet gets approved, what is the process actually? So explain what happens if the errata sheet gets accepted or introduced to the budget or not?
The errata sheet gets voted on as an amendment to the budget, and then the budget gets voted on separately.
So we do first include the errata sheet, pass fail, then the actual budget as amended or as proposed.
Correct.
A few things I noticed. A lot of this was about temporary salaries or overtime salaries. If these budget lines are reduced by, let's say, 5, 10, 15%, 50% in other places, what happens if they become exceeded? What do we do? So So say our estimations, I remember Ms. Hightower was saying, past estimations for overtime have been far off. So she tried to properly adjust her fair estimations. And now if we're just reducing the new estimations, are we just playing with numbers on a piece of paper instead of actually budgeting?
I think the general idea is to ask the department heads to tighten their belts a little bit. Under acting city manager, Commissioner Tagby, all overtime is supposed to be approved through the supervisor of the department and then through the city manager's office.
Okay, and last but not least, I do appreciate the effort put into this. I do think that if more effort was put into an earlier phase instead of over the last 3 days, probably a much better errata sheet could have been filled out. And I also would just take to notice that the errata sheet includes limited numbers, like $2,500 or $500 reductions. So, tightening up those belts for small amounts like $500, $2,500, $3,000 can have an impact on what you guys find to be important or not as important in the budget, set priorities. When dealing with non-contractual and non-mandated other expenses, I would say those numbers adjusted is important. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the general priority of the council for, at least the errata sheet that Councilwoman Moore and Councilwoman Diamond and I kind of worked on, the priority was to not pay anything wrong.
No, I'm not saying that. That's
So,
good. Thank
so
you.
that's why some of the numbers are $2,400 and some exceptions. Thank you.
No, that's very much appreciated. Yeah.
Yes, I see a hand in the back.
Good evening, council members, Mike Delord, Long Beach. I see there's about 8 lines, temporary salaries. What have you decided to implement as far as controls to keep those line items in check?
Well, there's, as I said to the last Mr. Pinzo, the supervisor of the department is supposed to, maintain this budget and reports to the city manager.
Okay. Second part of my question is, Councilman Bendo had asked probably 6, 7, 8 months ago for some kind of reports to be shared by all council members. Along those lines, you have budget versus actual variances, so you could see internally where you may need to adjust items. So what is the plan going forward to share these type of reports where you have budget versus actual with all council members? Has that been discussed or decided, Councilwoman Moore?
I would ask acting city manager XDC to.
Okay, and then I'll speak to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you this morning.
The question, Mr. Delord, I'm not sure what the connection is to the errata sheet specifically.
Okay, the connection is this. The adjustments here, in my opinion, mean really nothing until there's teeth behind the attainment of these budgeted goals. Which, if temporary salaries in central administration is reduced by 20%, who is responsible other than the acting city manager? But you can't be everywhere. Which person below your level is assigned to maintain these budget line items? Because when you exceed line items mid-year, there has to be the recommended path is you put forth a budget resolution shared by all council members and the general public that you know that you're exceeding the budget. So councilmen A, B, C, P, E know what's going on. That is what I think is concerning to me, is in the 6-month mark, you really should know where you stand. Good. And my recommendation to everybody here is you can always explain problems like sewer breaks and roads mid-year, and the people know about it. We're going to spend $100,000, $200,000 more. It's explainable. But to not share the information between all of you is difficult. That's just my point, is adherence to these adjustments, not, okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of actuals, we do get, the city manager does get periodic reports, monthly reports from the controller's office. So we are able to monitor that as the year progresses. With that being said, in terms of the control mechanisms, which I think the basic thrust of what you're questioning, it sort of depends on the line you're talking about.
I understand.
Yeah, you know, so if it's an overtime line, for instance, which tends to receive the most scrutiny, I'm working very closely with the department heads. But if it's a consultant line, I'm going to turn my attention toward that consultant and scrutinize that invoices associated with that consultant's work. So it's hard to really delve into this topic in the abstract without having more specific information, but I hope I was able to give you some examples of this.
Right, like the overtime salaries in food and family services, there's somebody overseeing that, and then overtime salaries in the Magnolia Center, there's somebody who should be responsible.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to go back to your question, just to add to that, I think you were very clear in terms of indicating the role and the importance of the supervisor to maintain the actual limits so that we could go ahead and adhere to the budget. But I think also, as my understanding, at least when we decided to adopt CMA, that was a part of the process, that the CMA would move forward with inventory to assess all the various departments and bring that report back to the council, and obviously also to the city manager, so that we could begin to really move forward with assessment. And that's the one thing that we have not had the opportunity to do, so that we could address the fiscal woes of the city.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Also, just to your point, as you well know, I've been asking for these reports under our previous acting city manager. The current one still have never gotten them. On Wednesday, I asked for an updated budget versus actual for the budget, and I never got that out of them.
Right, and this is historical because this is not the first time that this happened. It's not a 2019 thing, this goes back to 2016, but we'll wait for that for later on.
Just to be clear, Councilor Benda, you requested that information yesterday, and I responded to your request. I noted that it's going to take me more than a minute to snap my fingers together and generate such an extensive report. And frankly, I think it's disingenuous to say that on the day of the vote. We're doing the best we can here. We're burning the candle with that, which I believe you know in fairness. And you will get that report. However, at this late phase of the fiscal year, I do happen to think it makes more sense to conserve resources and give you actuals in a month rather than projecting in 2 weeks from now. That's just my 2 cents.
Actuals don't do us any good after we vote on the budget.
Answer them 1 day ahead of the final vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delory. Anyone else care to speak on the amount sheet? Yes, I see a hand on this side. Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Eileen Devine, Long Beach. As I've listened to the budget process and I've looked at the Arana sheet, it strikes me that the entire process is broken. It's just a broken process. It doesn't work. And so we're trying with the Arana sheet to try to make something work that doesn't work. And so my recommendation would be 2. 1, to go on an austerity budget, not to pass this budget, and 2, to change the charter before we pass a budget for the next fiscal year. Don't pass a budget tonight. Go on austerity budget and change the charter. That's what we need to do to make us go in the right direction. We don't need to try to ram this down the throats of the city tonight. We don't. It's not going to help us. You know, as I'm sitting there listening, my other thought was when I believe, I'm not sure if it was you, Mr. Aromo, or you, Mr. Agostisi, said we tried to do this so there would be no layoffs, and I appreciate that. But the truth is, at some point, there may need to be layoffs. And that's a sad fact, because we are in such a bad fiscal state. And we have to look at everything. And to not look at everything is unfair to every single resident in the city. Thank you.
Ms. Devine, thank you for your comments. To your credit, I have three matters I wanted to bring up while I was voting. One of them addresses exactly what you would have just brought up, something that's been discussed on the council between us, and Ms. Bender and I discussed. I was going to invite the rest of the council to join me in asking for a resolution to be passed, that is for outside counsel to review our city charter, to look into removing this current mechanism, which is flawed, and moving from the system of where it defaults to the proposed city manager's budget to an austerity budget similar to the school district. So I was going to invite the rest of the council to support me, and asking the acting city manager to put that resolution on within the next month.
We need to do it, we need to not wait for the next one. We need to do that now.
But we need to, it's too late for this time, we need outside counsel, I believe, to look into that, fully explore, to make sure, A, it requires maybe a referendum from the entire city to vote on, or B, if it's something the council can do as a resolution, and do it right.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Amanda. Yes, Mr. Gusto. I think Amanda's the right now.
Hi, good afternoon, Jacob. Long Beach. I apologize, I was late to the meeting, and this is probably going to have to answer, but what is the effective percentage that budget increases if these items on the errata sheet are incorporated into the budget?
0.8%.
I'm sorry?
0.8%.
0.8, so we're still north of 7% in terms of the, and I know you guys hit on the 7.9% was about $304 average per household. What impact does this errata, if it's adopted, have on that $304 figure?
It will bring it down to $274, $31.
So this brings $34. So what we're talking about here, for all intents and purposes, is $34 per taxpaying household on average if we adopt these. Okay. Well, I'd like to put on the record for the benefit of the people behind me and the people who see away from me, who probably don't know how this works. But Councilmembers Diamond, Morale, and Mandel elected, appointed Mr. Agostisi as the acting city manager. He's their guy. This 7.9% budget was irresponsibly low from the get-go. This whole errata thing is just a sham. It's just a way for you guys to get political cover by saying, look, we're trying to cut that 7.9% down low. You guys know that it's completely dishonest. The 7.9 is dishonest. You're still borrowing 1.8 million with that 7.9% increase. Whatever percent increase would have been much more honest and much more accurate, but I understand it's an election year and you're not inclined to do that. But this is insulting. The whole handling of this is insulting. That you guys couldn't meet beforehand, that we have to be here, residents have to be at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon to have to listen to this nonsense. It's insulting. You guys built this in from the get-go. You probably already have the political narratives calling yourselves tax cutters, printed and ready to go. This is a scam. You know it. I know it. Most of the people in this room know it. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
So to be clear, we're asking for a tax increase not much higher than 7.9%.
Do I want one? As a homeowner, of course not. But this 7.9 is a wasted number. You guys were $1 million short last year. Wait till you find out how short you're going to be this year.
Mr. Gus, I know you're right, late, just in case you didn't know. I think you should change Councilman Daniel and Councilman Moore. They also work on the errata sheet. It was a joint effort. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Listen, every little bit helps, but this is being done for political gain, not for the benefit of the taxpayers. We all know that. Okay.
Anyone else care to speak on the errata sheet? Yes.
Eileen Hessian, Long Beach. I think the major problem is that you weren't working together all year. A budget is something that should be looked at all year. It's probably the most important thing that we have going, and the most important thing that both the city manager, acting city manager, and the council have to do. And my understanding is that the first time all you met together was the night of the last city council meeting, when you were presenting the budget to us, and then you tabled it for a bit. That is ridiculous, because a month before that, 2 months before that, you were continuing to hire people at large salaries and small salaries. There should have been a moratorium on hiring. There should have been a moratorium on giving out cars. You should have looked at the heads of each of these departments and see where they could cut back. All that takes time, not on the final night, not today at 4 o'clock. You mentioned, Mr. Aramo, that you were trying to save jobs, and I agree with the woman who was up before me that you may have to cut some jobs, and some of those department heads should be telling you whose jobs should be cut, who is needed and who is not needed. Now, Mr. Aramo, you mentioned that you and Ms. Diamond and Ms. Moore were the ones who decided that you wanted to have the errata sheet so you could save jobs. Interestingly enough, those are the three that are up for
No, we just
Re-election.
happened to work with Anissa, and I'm going to
And the
Councilman Moore,
other two.
and I happen to work with Councilman Diamond, Councilman Mandel, and Councilman Bendo, also on one sheet, we kind of mashed them together.
Yeah, I'm sure that Mr. Mandel and Mr. Bender don't want to fire people either.
I would ask any of the council members to respond as well, but I think a general consensus is we didn't want the folks that helped put the city back together after Sandy's and then lose their jobs, because they too are our neighbors. So there's a negative impact, not just to them and their families, but to the city as a whole, and a reduction in the services that we get should there be layoffs.
I'm
So
not
that-
talking
I'll speak
about
for
the people
myself,
who are
and
giving
that
us
is a
the
priority.
services. I'm talking about the people who are making big salaries and not
There are not a
giving
lot
us
of
the
people making big
services.
salaries, sure.
Are the people who are making the small salaries then? It's silly that the budget, you know, this is what has to be changed, as Mr. Mandel mentioned, I think is what he was referring to, that almost no matter what, the budget goes through, which is stupid, that's the only word I can use. And then also, Mr. Agostisi, you said, you know, come on now, we're doing the best we can, and I disagree.
Before we leave the floor, I just want to speak to the comment, because I just, for purposes of clarification, and I'm sure you probably read it already in the Herald, but the issue was this: I worked on an errata sheet, okay? John also worked on one. We all worked together as a council to put the two together. That's why you saw me up here last meeting, just going crazy trying to put all the information
And as I
together.
said, that was at the
I'm not
last minute.
justifying that, but I'm just making it clear that there were two sheets. We all worked together to bring those two errata sheets together, all right? And obviously, some things people agreed to, some things people did not agree to. And what you see today, unfortunately, is the only things that we were able to agree to.
And all I'm saying is that this should have been worked out all year long. Why is this $300,000 suddenly had to talk about it this week?
I'm not at all, I totally agree with you.
You gotta work all
You have
year
the
long.
right to be, you have the right to be frustrated as a resident, and I'm hearing you, but I'm just saying, making it clear that it's not just for election year, because usually every year, I'm still doing the same thing in terms of presenting
Looking at
information.
whether this one passes, goes to austerity or fails, tomorrow you should start thinking about next year's budget and thinking very hard about making some serious cuts. Sell some of those cars.
Anyone else care to speak about the errata sheet? Okay, seeing no hands, I'll ask the council if anyone wishes to strike anything from the errata sheet or add anything from the errata sheet at this time. No additions and no, I think we should, I'd like to make a motion to strike the contact with services off the fire line.
I'll have it. I only have a question, just have a question about that. If we go ahead and strike that from the errata sheet, are we going to in any way include something else to replace it?
I'm open for all the suggestions, but I think Commissioner Cummings laid out a pretty good argument to cut that off the errata sheet.
Can we call Commissioner Kemmons to find out if there's a different amount, a lesser amount that can be restricted? Or are you requesting the entire amount? Really, can we do this bare bones?
Unfortunately, that's a line that pretty much is spoken for already. I got shorted last year, and if you look at my latest financial statement, that line is already overdrawn by $383, and that was at the end of April. So that pays, like I said, that pays our ambulance commission. This year, I think, was on track to collect $1.1 million in ambulance fees. And like I said, as those collections go up, the fees that we have to pay are higher. And like I said, the required OSHA medicals, you know, medical, we have to do a fit mass test, certain members have to get other tests depending on their age. I mean, it's an average of probably $225 a firefighter, both career and volunteer. I would like to say yes, let's cut $3,000, but at the end of the year, I don't want to have to be begging and say I don't have enough money to pay for the ambulance commission, like we're probably going to be doing this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Councilman Mandel. So there's a motion on the floor to restore that $10,700.
$10,700.
No, it's just preliminary.
Now you're sad.
So we're just doing a parliamentary approval and then we'll vote on the accepting.
The motion is to remove that line from the errata sheet, correct?
Yes,
Who made that motion?
I made the motion.
Second?
Councilwoman Diamond.
Vote on the motion, Councilman Bender?
Yes.
Councilman Mandel?
After hearing Commissioner Kemmons' explanation, I vote yes.
Councilman Moore?
Okay, based on the legal basis for it, I'll vote yes.
Vice President Donovan?
Yes.
President Morrell?
Yes. Does anyone else have, any other council members have anything they wish to add or strike from the errata sheet?
I'd like to make a motion that any savings from the errata sheet go to reduce the amount of borrowing for separation payments that is currently.
That essentially that there's no tax increase from the errata sheet.
Sorry, I can do that.
Yes, any savings from the errata sheet will be used to reduce the borrowing line in the budget for separation payments.
Can you just elaborate on that? Why are we not taking that money and using that to pay down on the debt service?
Because borrowing money for separation payments increases the debt service, I'm trying to reduce the amount we borrow.
Okay, so why can't we just eliminate it from the budget altogether?
Eliminate the borrowing for separation payments?
Right, into a separate account. Should be a separate part of the budget, not included in the budget. I'm just asking you questions, you should place a motion on the floor.
I'm not clear on what you're asking, what I'm proposing is how do you write a sheet saving?
I'm being advised that this is a legal issue and I'd like to take the council into executive session.
Okay. Make a motion to do this.
I make a motion to take us into executive session to discuss the legal issue.
I second the motion.
Yes.
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 Vice President Donovan?
Yes.
adjourn for executive session.
Oh, no, I withdrawing my motion, and I'll explain why. Any savings from the errata is translated to a reduction in the tax rate that the people pay. So it's less revenue coming in, so there's no actual savings to apply to budgeting. To do it, the errata sheet would have to pass plus keep the 7.9%. That's the only way to translate the savings over. That's what the city manager was explaining to us. So in actuality, since the errata sheet's purpose is to reduce the tax levy, not maintain it, there are no savings to apply to reduce the borrowing. So with that, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, so next one is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the budget for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2019, and ending June 30th, 2020, appropriating sums set forth therein and determining and fixing the real estate tax rate.
I'll make the motion.
Adopting the more actually has to change the figures to reflect the,
We can't hear.
sorry, to change the figures to reflect the updated tax levies. Correct? Who will second?
We have to vote on it, so someone please.
I'll say.
Voting on adopting the errata sheet to the item. Councilmember Bennett.
Sitting up here means we have to make difficult decisions sometimes, the decisions that are unpopular, especially in budget season. As you heard, there were two different errata sheets that got combined, mashed together. Councilman Mandel and I worked on one, and we took a microscope going through the budget, and we had actually proposed eliminating some positions, as difficult as that may be, but we felt the city could survive without them, and we're proposing to save several $100,000 doing it. Regrettably, other council members did not agree with us on that. This errata, if passes, is going to save each house about $2.50 a month. And as we've seen, this city's been running a deficit for 5 years now. In 2015, we ran almost $800,000 deficit. In 2016, 1.6 million. In 2017, almost $1 million. In 2018, 5.2 million. That's 18% of the budget. In 2019, we just found out, as a resident asked the other night, we're going to probably be about $1 million deficit. We also tried to claw back some raises that were given out that were not in the budget, and we felt given out properly. Again, that was removed. So at this point, it is my opinion at least, that this errata is going to do nothing but create an even bigger deficit for us next year. So I vote no.
First, I want to thank Councilman Bendel for having us together working on our errata sheet. And I also want to thank Councilwoman Moore, Councilman Ramos. We spent time trying to mash all this together, as Councilman Bendel stated. I think John put it very clear. We have a difficult job of balancing the equities, keeping the city running, while also keeping the taxpayer in mind, first and foremost, and the impact on the taxpayer. It was our hope that we could have a deeper reduction in the impact on the taxpayer. And looking at how this errata sheet has come to, and being, well, to put it politely, not happy after 8 years on this council with the way this process played out this year. in voting. Again, I do thank the other council members for sitting around and making the efforts. I know they were not easy.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes, so first of all, I just want to, share that I too was very disappointed, with the outcome. We worked extremely hard, to make this happen. It's also unfortunate that I was not included in the budget discussion, with Councilman Bendo and Councilman Mandel. But at any rate, ultimately, we came together. I think we finally came together a little too late in terms of what happened on Tuesday night. In the 4 years that I've been here, I've never experienced something like this in terms of having information accessible to the residents. In times past, the errata sheet was always here and present so that everyone that was here could have the information and they could review the information and share during the budget hearing. And this is for the first time in 4 years, this did not happen. But I have to say that once again, in the end, our goal was to address the issue, and that was to really reduce the tax burden on the residents. It's unfortunate that we were only able to come up with a very small percentage to really ease that woe. And so with that being said, I'm also going to vote no on this election.
Vice President Biden.
No.
President Obama.
No.
We're on the original item. We're on the original item, item 1. About the errata. Who will just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second? Go ahead, Councilmember Bendo.
So I think everybody in the room knows this, but just in case you don't, no matter how this vote turns out, this budget goes into effect at midnight tonight. The way our city charter is written is the budget goes into effect anyway, unless the council does something different. On April 2nd of 2018, I tried to change the charter to fix this. Still hasn't gone anywhere. So I very much appreciate Councilman Mandel saying we now need to fix this. But this is a problem, because this vote is almost pointless because the budget is going into effect anyways. That being said, I'd also, quite frankly, and I'm speaking for myself, I want to apologize to the residents of this city, because I think the city council failed you. We're sitting up here voting on a $98 million budget, nearly $98 million, and the 5 of us did not meet one time to discuss this budget. That is inexcusable, and the residents deserve better than they got from us. So basically, I talked about the deficits. It's just this, we are terrible at doing budgets in this city. It's just a given. And I think this budget overestimates revenue again, underestimates expenses. It does nothing to address our financial crisis, nothing. And it just continues the excessive borrowing. So I vote no.
First, I want to echo something Roy Lester said. Mr. Lester, you pointed out that this meeting was called today at 4 p.m. on a Friday. I understand and I agree with you. I myself had to take off work to be here, but I took on that responsibility when I was elected. Taxpayers shouldn't have to. So I echo your. Just to touch upon some other things. Earlier, I had brought up, thank you, Ms. Devine, that we need to change the system to an austerity budget system similar to the school district. So I asked that my fellow council members join me in that we direct the acting city manager to put a resolution on so we can vote on that, and we'll really that outside council to explore the mechanism for doing that. Again, we should do it once, we should do it right. In addition, in our proposed errata sheet, we had asked for $25,000 to be retained so we can retain a firm to carry out a search for a full-time city manager. In that the errata sheet failed, I would ask the rest of the council to join me in the resolution again, putting on to retain that firm and looking where we can find those funds, I think is paramount. Lastly, touching on some other comments made, I think Mr. Delory, comment you made, sir, we should have some direction from the acting city manager as to what will be implemented, what methods for enforcing financial controls in this budget that does pass tonight by default. So I'd ask for those 3 resolutions to be supported by the rest of the council within the next month or 2. I don't want them put on just shoot from the hip. I want them thought out, I want them put on, and want them voted on. I'd ask for the support. As for this budget, again, when we did the errata sheets, John and I got together, we didn't receive any calls as far as I know from any other council members, so we did what we had to do together. So it goes both ways. Again, I appreciate the efforts by all the council members, but the facts are the facts. We sat down, John used the right term, we went line by line, cut what we could, we were unsuccessful in getting some of the things we wanted or most of the things. That's how government works. Based on that, I'm unable to support this budget as presented and proposed, so I can vote no.
Councilmember Moore.
Okay, so in 2019, our budget challenges are many. We have a low fund balance, we have a poor cash position, chronic deficits, which include the use of short-term debt to bridge cash flow gaps. But I want you to remember that in 2018, I chaired the New York State Conference of Mayors and Association of Towns of the State of New York statewide survey that was conducted by Cornell University to evaluate the causes and the responses to fiscal stress. I shared right here in this very day is that the drivers of fiscal stress, 98% of the towns and municipalities indicated aging infrastructure, local government limited ability to raise revenues, and it goes on. I also shared with you that some of the initiatives that they actually looked at, they increased grant funding pursuits, they explored shared service agreements, they also developed a coalition which included members of the local business community, civics, residents that were willing to help with the budget. I propose that a community coalition be developed to work together in anticipation of this year's budget, but that was met with deaf ears. In 2017, I also called for budget reform. I asked for performance assessments right here in this room within the departments. In 2016, I called for budget reform and open sharing of information because at that particular time, many of the residents who are still sitting in this audience called out for open communication and transparency. Now here we are, 2019. I hope to work with all of my colleagues and assess the current fiscal process and the procedures so that we can make the necessary changes, so that we can have the checks and balances within our city charter. But once again, I have never been a part of the majority, so my contributions have always fallen on deaf ears. This is my 4th budget. It's an embarrassing one, and for the 4th time, in my experience, the residents are being asked to bail out the government with tax increases and fees. Balancing a budget should never be done by raising taxes as an easy fix. Good government lessens deficits, reduces taxes, is transparent with respect to sharing of information regarding spending and sources of revenue. But it's important for all of you that are here tonight to understand, since 2016, and Councilman Mandel as well as Councilman Aramo can attest to this, we were told and we were provided with data that highlighted revenue growth and our commitment to reduce the debt service. That's the information that we received since 2016, and we continue to receive that up until the time that we have our new acting city manager. It's come to my attention that all of this is clearly deception. It's now come to my attention that all the savings, all the reductions, all of the countless exercises that we've made in times past to actually address this issue with the errata sheet to reduce taxes for the residents, all of those cuts and all of those suggestions were never implemented. That's why we're here right now, okay? So this vote is another drop in the historic budget of fiscal management. If we had moved forward in 2016, we would not be coming before you right now with a 7.9% increase. I'm hopeful that CMA and the future budget controls, I believe they look promising. I believe in it, but unfortunately, many of our neighbors will be forced to move out by the time the plan is implemented. We can no longer turn our heads. We can no longer
promise everyone out in this audience, wait until next year, because the people of Long Beach deserve better. So I apologize, on behalf of the council, you worked extremely hard, you didn't get it done, but you needed to understand that we are where we are right now because of all of the, misleading information that was given to us beginning, and I can only speak from 2016 until this time. And so with that, I vote no. No.
So I appreciate the words of my fellow council members, and I do, Councilman Mandel, appreciate looking into hiring outside counsel and, you know, potentially changing the charter so that the mechanism, the flawed mechanism of the budget going into effect. I do appreciate that recommendation. I would say that the one issue that I have with our budget as proposed is that it does nothing, in addition to the words that Councilwoman Moore so eloquently spoke. The main issue is it does nothing to address the structural imbalances that the city currently faces. And also, we do need to find some more creative ways to to increase revenue. So with that, I vote no.
Anything else? Make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Daniel.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Zion. President Romano.
Yes. Thank you.